The first thing to note is that Pakistan is definitely responding. But now the question, which is the most significant one, is how does Pakistan respond and how effectively it does so? Now, as far as Pakistan's response up till now is concerned, for symbolic value, Pakistan has cut off diplomatic ties with India. It had been announced following a National Security Council meeting among the top officials within the ranks of Pakistani government as well as the state that diplomatic ties would be cut off. Envoy sent from India, ambassador sent from India would be sent back, and those in New Delhi from Pakistani side would also be called back to Pakistan. Other than that, trade ties have also been brought to an end between both the countries, and I have been reading that Indian diplomats have urged not to cut off the ties completely. However, like I said, this holds a lot of symbolic value. Now, I've been listening to a lot of those Indian media anchors and panelists saying that it doesn't really make a lot of difference to them if Pakistan cuts off trade ties with them because they're not that dependent on, on trade with us. However, like I said, this holds symbolic value in the sense that Pakistan has indicated that it would not like to keep any association with such a rogue regime as the one that India is being governed under as of now. But the problem here is that attention needs to be brought to the human rights abuses in Kashmir, the plight of the Kashmiri civilians and population. So to that end, Pakistan is trying to bring the attention of international community on this matter. Pakistan has also intimated in UN Security Council, UN organizations. Pakistan also intends to go up to the International Court of Justice. There have been talks with US representatives. There have also been talks with the Chinese foreign minister, as well as the fact that our prime minister has corresponded with his Turkish counterpart and Malaysian counterpart. So, the international attention is being drawn to the fact recently an OIC summit was held in Jeddah and the Kashmir issue was raised again. But, right now when I look at the public response, when I look at people from within Indian occupied Kashmir as well as in Pakistan, they feel that these steps are not enough. So my question is, what is it that the public is looking forward to? What is it that the public wants? When is it that the public would feel, the Awam would feel that significant steps are being taken? Now, there's a lot of polarization on that question. There's a lot of division and differences of opinion as well as far as that question is concerned. Because on the one hand, we've got people who are saying that this should not lead to a situation of armed conflict between India and Pakistan. They do not want a war-like situation. But on the other hand, there are those who want exactly that situation. There are exactly those kinds of people who want to see a war-type situation because they see this as a do-or-die situation. So how to balance between these two completely polar opposites? I feel that it is very important for the public as well as those at the official level to be aware of what the international law says, what various aspects of international law have to say about the possible remedies that Pakistan can pursue. Now, as far as those who want a very strong reaction, who do not just want a diplomatic standoff between both the countries, who do not just want to see diplomatic sanctions being imposed on the Indian regime, but they want to see more, i.e. military intervention. As far as that is concerned, there are international legal provisions even on that. But what I do not like is the fact that a lot of people from within the public are saying, oh, just flout international law, or who needs to follow international law? Let me tell you, just yesterday someone said to me that even during the US invasion of Iraq in 2003, did they not break international law? What happened really? So my answer to them was, do you realize that when the United States did that, they justified that invasion in terms of international law? Come to that, when India tried its attempted Balakot strike on 26 February this year, although that was a clear and distinct breach of law because there was no immediate threat emanating from Pakistan, the Pulwama incident was all for India to deal with. It had nothing to do with Pakistan. Still, India tried to cloak its illegal act under the guise of self-defense under Article 51 of the UN Charter. So when, there are states or there are countries or there are regimes who try to present their illegal actions as legal under international law, Why can Pakistan, when we have such strong claims, not stand up for its correct response on correct stance, something that is entitled to under international law? Why can we not say that this is what we are entitled to under international law? So I really question those members of the public who say flout international law. Pakistan does not need to flout international law because Pakistan has rights under international law. We have very legitimate claims here which we can pursue by following international law itself. So as far as military intervention into international law is concerned, generally speaking, yes, under Article 2.4 of the UN Charter, use of force or armed force is prohibited. But there are exceptional situations as well. For instance, I just quoted Article 51 of the UN Charter, when it is a question of self-defense. Now, international law has developed a doctrine of preemptive self-defense, that when there is a threat of imminent attack on our soil, we can take preemptive action. Just last week, India fired cluster ammunition towards Pakistan, and there are more nefarious designs of that kind. So Pakistan has every single right to defend its interests, its political independence and territorial integrity against such Indian aggression. That is what we can do. Humanitarian intervention, there's a customary international law developing on that as well. So just last year, in Syria, when the Bashar al-Assad regime had fired chemical attacks at their people, used chemical attacks against their own people in the city of Douma. That was when the US and the UK combined their forces, and they did not even have time to seek the Security Council's authorization for the same. They went in on humanitarian intervention grounds, and this very strong precedent was set for this with respect to NATO's intervention in Kosovo to save the civilians from the tyrannous Serbian regime. So there has been a change of opinion juris. There is a changing opinion juris over the decades, and new customary international law on humanitarian intervention is developing elsewhere. So when we look at what is going on in Kashmir, does that also not fall within the same bracket of humanitarian causes, where a humanitarian intervention could perhaps be justified along the same lines as that of NATO's intervention in Kosovo, which ultimately led to Kosovo's secession and independence from Serbia? So what I'm talking about here is the fact that you cannot be mentioning international law violation, because that India has done, and we do not endorse international violation. Lawyers and think tanks need to get together to devise a strategy, a policy, which within the framework of international law, which provides Pakistan with every kind of avenue to pursue its legal rights. Other than that, this is military intervention. Then there are obviously those sanctions that you can impose on India, and you can get the support from the international community, which do not pertain to military intervention. To that end, the Security Council has a lot of powers. Pakistan, like I said, does intend to take the matter up to the Security Council. Article 41 of the United Nations Charter allows the Security Council to pass resolutions imposing diplomatic and economic sanctions not involving use of force on rogue regimes, as they had done against North Korea, as they had done, even in relation to South Africa when there was the apartheid regime. And if the current Indian regime is not one based on aggression, on apartheid type, neo-Nazi mentality, ideology, where Muslims are being discriminated against, where top actors within India are talking about the Kashmir solution, where they are talking about changing the demographics of Indian occupied Kashmir, and not only that, but the whole of India. They are talking about changing the demography of the whole of India. So why can, sanctions not be imposed in line with previous precedents set by the world community? Then, of course, the Security Council also has the authority to refer matters pertaining to, those issues which fall within the ambit of the Rome Statute of International Criminal Court to the ICC. So there are a lot of avenues available right now. What Pakistan needs to do is to create awareness. And awareness, as far as that is concerned, we really need to put our media at work as well. You look at the Indian media, they are spreading misinformation, completely baseless allegations. Just after, there was a lockdown and the clampdown in Indian occupied Kashmir, the political leaders had been arrested, and they had sent thousands of paramilitary troops in Indian occupied Kashmir, imposed curfew, suspended internet and telephonic services. The Indian media the very next day said that Kashmir has finally been freed. People are enjoying their freedoms in Indian occupied Kashmir, which was a blatant lie, and they are continuing with that lie still. So if they've got 50 programs being broadcast about Kashmir and against Pakistan on the same channel, and multiply that with 200 channels, which makes around 4,000 programs, 1 hour programs, 4,000 times in a month. why can Pakistan also not, spread awareness and actually counter these lies emanating from Indian media by propagating our very truthful stance on our channels? So, for example, I'm sitting here right now. I am trying to create awareness as far as I can. So when the Pakistani media also engages in, that particular direction, it goes in that direction that we are going to create awareness, that we are not going to remain silent, that we are going to be the voice for the oppressed Kashmiris, for our Kashmir brothers and sisters. I think that is going to have a very long-term impact, because look at the Indian media and their narrative. It doesn't quite fit in with what the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has just mentioned recently. It does not fit in with the International Commission of Jurists' condemnation of the atrocities being committed in Indian-occupied Kashmir. So all in all, it is very important that we do not allow the Indian media and all those associated with them to silence the truth and to silence the oppressed. We have to stand with them, and the biggest contribution we can make is to be their voice.
We're really excited to share fantastic content with you
on all the fun topics.
Please subscribe to our channel by clicking on the subscribe button below.